Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to Tornadoes Are Scary from Sweggle Studios. This channel, I've been reacting to him a lot in the last probably 2-3 months, and I find the channel pretty interesting. And I mean, yeah, tornadoes are just a fascinating thing in general, and he seems to have a lot of knowledge on them. And we're going to check this out. I don't know what he's going to really go into here because, I mean, it's just tornadoes are scary, which everyone knows, but maybe he's going to go into specific things. I'm not too sure, but we're going to check this out. Hopefully going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon where you can see reactions that I can't post to YouTube. Let's jump into this.
Picture this scenario. You're at home, it's in the late evening,
You're just hanging out, watching TV, when you suddenly hear a clap of thunder off in the distance.
you get up to look out the window and you notice dark clouds to the west slowly approaching. The TV program you were watching becomes interrupted by a local weather broadcast warning of the potential of tornadoes.
This is the National Weather Service in Omaha, Nebraska. We have issued a tornado warning.
And suddenly the tornado sirens sound.
Mate, it's setting the scene too well.
You grab your family, your pets, and you find a safe space. Perhaps it's in the basement, perhaps it's in a closet or an interior room. You seek shelter and you begin to hear a low rumble sound, almost like a train, slowly approaching, getting louder and louder and louder. Yeah, tornadoes are terrifying. Like, more so than other natural disasters. Floods
I can see that being pretty scary. He set the scene very well.
are actually way deadlier, way more dangerous than tornadoes, but a flood warning doesn't really strike the fear in you like a tornado warning does. Volcanoes are crazy, explosive, massive, dangerous, but they don't creep up to your doorstep in the middle of the night. There is a horror-like aspect to tornadoes, and that is exactly what this video is about. Halloween is coming up, and I figured it'd be a good time to just talk about the terrifying nature of tornadoes. We'll discuss some of the scariest images,
Fucking
videos,
hell.
and experiences in today's video. Let's get into it. I have made this comparison on this channel before, but tornadoes really are a real-life version of a monster. I mean, a scary cloud that descends and takes out anything in its path. It sounds almost unbelievable. If we lived in a world where tornadoes didn't exist, there would still be tornado lore
That cannot be real. I don't believe this. I can't believe that's real. What the fuck?
and myths, similar to ball lightning and ghosts in our own society. Even the cone shape of these things is pretty creepy. Just check out the infamous dead man walking photo. Creepy legs and a scythe-like arm. I mean, it's the Reaper. Other natural disasters may be deadlier and more dangerous, but only a tornado seems alive. 089 had this to say about tornadoes on Reddit. I like to say that they're the closest things to Lovecraftian eldritch abominations that we have in real life. They do feel alive because they're so dynamic. They're big enough to inspire awe at their size, but small enough to be recognized as a single object. Hurricanes are much larger, but they're just big storm systems. Tornadoes are things, big ghostly things moving across the ground and stretching high into the sky. Tornadoes honestly really aren't that different from Michael Myers in the Halloween franchise. A dangerous, dark, and mysterious figure that slowly makes its way towards you. He doesn't run, he just slowly moves towards you. When people in real life take shelter from a tornado, they often hide in interior closets, just like in Halloween.
Damn.
The 1996
It's
made-for-TV movie Night of the Twisters takes place during Halloween. Now, the event that it's based off of, which is the 1980 Grand Island nocturnal tornadoes, that actually takes place in June. But the movie takes place near Halloween because it's adding like a horror-like factor to it. But instead of monsters coming for them in the middle of the night, it's a bunch of tornadoes. Night tornadoes are usually referred to as nocturnal tornadoes.
See, these would be the worst, of course. I mean, in the middle of a sleep, you get woken up by a tornado outside your door, or sirens, or a warning on your phone. God damn, that would be the worst feeling.
And I want to discuss their history, starting with that tragic night in Grand Island, Nebraska. On June 3rd, 1980, Grand Island, Nebraska went through a very unique meteorological event. On that night, Grand Island was hit by 7 different tornadoes in the span of 3 hours, between 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. All in all, 5 would lose their lives, and over 200 would be injured. The experience was very traumatic, not just because you had tornadoes destroying your community, but because they came at night. This is the only known tornado photo captured from that night, and it's one of the creepiest tornado photos I've ever seen. It shows the second tornado to the left and the third tornado to the right. This tornado would end up injuring 40 individuals, but it was actually the 5th tornado from that night that took 5 lives. Many families on that night had horrifying experiences. The whole event kind of came out of nowhere. It was a Tuesday night. Many parents were away from their kids at different events. So you had a lot of kids at home freaking out because the weather was changing so rapidly. Now, the movie that we talked about earlier that was based off of this event was actually a film adaptation of the book Night of the Twisters by Ivy Ruckman. Here's the book right here.
Got it as well.
Scared
Damn.
kid, because it's a scary experience. Nocturnal
But bro does love his tornadoes. I gotta respect it.
tornadoes are twice as deadly as their daytime counterparts, even though they only make up a very small percentage of tornadoes overall. There have been countless terrifying nocturnal tornadoes. Some of the more prominent tornadoes include the Barnveld, Wisconsin F5 that hit at 12:41
F5 in the middle of the night. Fucking hell.
a.m. on June 8th, 1984. According to the Weather Service office in Madison, Wisconsin, the lightning was so intense during this tornado that there was actually a strobe effect to it.
No
That event
way.
caused 200 injuries and 9 fatalities. One very recent nocturnal tornado event that comes to mind is the March 3rd, 2020 Nashville, Tennessee tornado outbreak. The
Oh.
strongest tornado from that outbreak
My
was the
God.
Cookeville EF4, which had 19 fatalities and 87 injuries. Other notable night tornadoes include the Greensburg, Kansas tornado of May 8th, 2007, the April 1998 Birmingham, Alabama tornado, and the downtown Lubbock, Texas tornado in 1970.
Shit.
Dixie Alley tends to be hit by some really bad nocturnal tornadoes. And on top of that, Dixie Alley is actually very hilly. The terrain can easily hide tornadoes, just making it even scarier. It's a very dangerous place. Similar in a way to nocturnal tornadoes are rain-wrapped tornadoes. Like nocturnal tornadoes, you can't actually see them, but instead of them being shrouded by darkness, they're shrouded by rain. Rain-wrapped tornadoes are extremely dangerous. In fact, the deadliest tornado since the 1950s, the 2011 Joplin EF5, was rain-wrapped. So I spent some time online.
What makes the rain wrapped one so dangerous? Is it just, I guess it's just added, right? A tornado on its own, as bad as it is, just rain added to it just makes it worse, I guess. But
Looking for the creepiest and scariest tornado photos, and I came across this. This
Oh
photo to
my
me just
God.
kind of freaks me out. The tornado is
oh, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, man. It's like it's sort of bending towards. Oh my days, that is fucked.
looming in the background of a nice suburban street, and it kind of has a liminal feel to it. This is from the 2019 Dallas EF3, which actually happened on October 20th, so 11 days before Halloween. Thankfully, this tornado took no fatalities. There was also a video captured of the event, and it also has some pretty eerie vibes to it. The fact that you can only see the tornado when the lightning flashes, freaks me out. Another creepy photo comes from June 1995 in Dimmitt, Texas. This tornado was only an F2, but the time of day, the darkness of the photo, the way it's like a silhouette, the headlights from the car, almost looking like it's trying to outrun it. The low res quality really makes the photo more eerie. I think we should talk about that. I want to talk about how lower res videos and photos just seem a little bit eerier than modern day videos. But before we get to that, a quick word from our sponsor,
Oh.
Morgan & Morgan.
He's getting his money. I'll let it run. You know what? I'll let this ad run because it's quite a recent video, so it should be in place now.
Oof. I recently slipped at work and it really did a number on my wrist. My friend, if you've been injured at work, then you deserve compensation. And you can try Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Morgan & Morgan has over 100 offices nationwide and over 800 lawyers who specialize in several different areas, including personal injury, civil rights, medical malpractice, class action lawsuits, nursing home abuse, defective products, and so much more. Morgan & Morgan has recovered over $15 billion for its clients. And speaking of money, the fee is free unless you win. That's right, no upfront cost, no sign-up fees, all the paperwork, research, it's all free unless you win. But truth be told, I really like my employer. I don't want to sue them. You're not suing your employer, you're suing their insurance company, which, by the way, is sitting on gobs and gobs of cash. But how does it work? You can check out Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com or by calling them at 877-906-7509. Thanks, Morgan & Morgan. Vintage tornado
It's like an advert on the TV. Love it though. He's securing the bag. You love to see it.
videos just have a creepier vibe to them. In fact, the older you go, the creepier they are. Photos from the early 20th century can look very strange and dark. Often videos before 2000 just seem a lot creepier because of that low resolution. It makes the
Facts.
tornado more
Look at this, man.
mysterious. It gives it a darker vibe.
Look at the car, like how it's bumping around a little bit. Yeah, this one's not fun, man.
This Lindsborg, Kansas video from September 25th, 1973 is a prime example. Look at the way that it moves and dances by the water tower.
Mad.
Going back 16 more years to June 20th, 1957, we have the Fargo, North Dakota F5. This is some of the earliest video capture of a tornado.
Crazy.
Vintage safety videos can also have a dark vibe to them. I remember back in school, usually in the spring, we would all get together for an assembly to watch some sort of tornado safety video. Some of them were pretty cheesy, but sometimes they kind of freaked me out. A classic example is the 1976 film Countdown to Survival. One section in particular is pretty intense. Check it out.
Flipping hell. Showing this to kids. Jesus Christ.
Pretty wild. So I want to break down the entire tornado experience. Every part of the experience has different factors that really build tension. I've broken it down into several phases, and we're going to start with the first phase, the anticipation phase. This stage usually starts off with your county being issued a tornado watch. Perhaps you're at work, school, or in the car, and you suddenly hear that EAS warning. Definitely a startling sound, but it's startling for a reason. It's there to get your attention. After you hear that EAS warning, it just kind of sits in the back of your mind. Most tornado watches are just false alarms, but they do build a small layer of anticipation and anxiety. Often before a large thunderstorm, there's a certain vibe in the atmosphere, and it can be kind of difficult to explain. I mean, it might even be sunny out and nice out, but there's just an eerie feeling. Some people complain about aches in their elbows or their knees. This is where that saying, "it's always calm before the storm," comes from.
Really?
You just know something's off.
Calm before the
Eventually the
storm.
atmosphere
I didn't know. That is wild.
begins to produce large cumulonimbus clouds that further form into large supercells. The elements are in place for a dangerous storm. Now we're moving on to phase 2, the approach. It's getting later in the evening and the sky to the west is extremely dark. You watch as the impending storm approaches. At this point, the leaves on the trees begin to turn over and the birds quit chirping. All the animals, they know something is up. They know something is coming. Usually you're sitting in your living room with the local weather on, the meteorologist is monitoring the situation, and lightning flickers off in the distance. You frequently walk back and forth from the TV to the back window to look at the clouds in the approaching thunderstorm. You may even see a shell cloud or an Arcus cloud, and sometimes you might even see scud clouds, which are these little long finger-looking things that stick down from the Arcus cloud. Scud stands for scattered cumulus under deck. Many people actually believe them to be tornadoes, but there's no rotation, so they're not tornadoes. They are just SLCs, scary-looking clouds. Just a false alarm. The meteorologist on TV then notices something alarming on radar, a hook echo, or a radar indication of rotation. Suddenly, a tornado warning is issued for your area, and the tornado sirens sound. Similar to the earlier EAS sound, they sound pretty creepy.
Wait, you're getting the warnings whilst it's snowing? Wait, tornadoes whilst it's snowing? What?
I actually think that this moment is a
Huh?
large part of what makes tornadoes so scary. The dual
For
tone
sure.
of the tornado / air raid / civil defense sirens just has a creepy dissonance to it. Different tornado sirens create different sounds, but the 810 port to me sounds the most eerie. Take a listen.
This is like the sound of the Blitz, right? In London. These sirens were going off whilst they're being bombed.
It almost sounds like a creepy choir, or perhaps a trumpet sound in the end days of Revelation. The shape of these things is also pretty creepy. There are many eerie vibes in the approach stage of a tornado, but there's one video that captures it very well. This video was captured by Rodalco 2007, and it just does a great job of capturing the atmosphere before a tornado hits. This was taken before the infamous May 22nd, 2011 Joplin EF5. These storm chasers are currently located on Rangeline Road, and all you can see is a blanket of darkness behind these stores. But that's actually a massive...
This is the tornado. I do remember reacting to this tornado, but flipping out, this is the entire tornado in this whole thing.
tornado.
Oh,
Here's the same
fuck
street, the same stores, a few hours after the tornado passed.
Wow.
These guys barely dodged a bullet. And what's even creepier is that they're stuck at a red light. I mean, oh my gosh, can you imagine being stuck at a red light as a massive EF5 tornado is approaching you? Terrifying.
hell.
Phase 1 and Phase 2 are pretty common in Tornado Alley and Dixie Alley. My own city usually gets about 2 tornado warnings a year. In fact, I had one yesterday. Now, the next phase of actually encountering a tornado and going through that experience is thankfully pretty unlikely. I have personally never been directly hit by a tornado, but many people have, and they have lived to tell the tale of the experience. The most common description of such a terrifying event is the freight train sound that the tornado makes as it approaches.
And I heard it. They say it sounds like a train, boy, it sure does.
Can you imagine sheltering in a closet or a basement in the dark and hearing a freight train-like sound slowly getting closer and closer? It would be terrible. There are many difficult videos to watch on YouTube of people hiding in closets or bathrooms and hearing that awful sound of their houses getting destroyed. After the event, they walk out and see nothing left. One of the more famous videos is the Parkersburg graduation party. They see the tornado approaching, they all take shelter, and then when it hits, it's just a horrifying sound. This is why many tornado victims often suffer from a condition known as thalassophobia, or the fear of tornadoes. It is a more extreme version of
Oh, that's fully understandable.
astrophobia, which is the fear of thunderstorms. Tornadoes are a force of nature that need to be taken seriously.
I love a thunderstorm. If I'm inside, I do love a thunderstorm. Like, you feel cozy whilst you're inside. You're looking out your window. You can see the rain. It's pouring. Maybe little bit of lightning here and there. That is like peak happiness. Maybe not peak happiness. That sounds a bit bad. But if you're inside for it, you know what? A thunderstorm with a bit of lightning and rain can't go wrong. Again, if you're inside and you're safe, of course.
But should you actually fear tornadoes? And what should you do if one is coming towards you? Well, you shouldn't necessarily fear tornadoes. I think a healthy amount of fear is, of course, good. That will keep you safe. But the odds of you actually being in a tornado are extremely slim. In fact, there's people that have lived in Oklahoma or Kansas or Iowa or Alabama their entire lives, and they have never seen a tornado.
Oh,
if you
wow.
take proper safety precautions, you're going to be fine. General rule of thumb is the center part of the lowest level in your home or building.
Center part. So basically, the thing that's here, pretty much. Center part of the lowest part. Okay.
Obviously, if you have a basement, you want to go to the basement. But if you don't have a basement, you want to be in an interior room, away from windows. Trailer parks account for 40% of tornado fatalities.
Damn.
So if you live in a trailer, make sure you have a plan. Make sure that you know of maybe a central building that is like legit bolted to the ground that you can go to. Honestly, at the end of the day, get yourself a weather app and turn on the emergency notifications in your app to make sure that you actually get notified if something is coming. Every single time I'm in a tornado warning, I get the alert on my phone probably like 2 minutes before the sirens go off. So you definitely want that, all right? Stay safe, be weather aware.
Thank God I don't have to experience this, man. It seems like I mean, every time I react to this, I just learn more and more about tornadoes, right? But as a person from the Midwest, going through a tornado is a seriously scary event, but after a few years it becomes routine to just go to the basement and hope. That is so brutal to even think about. That's just like part of your routine for a certain part of the year, every year. The less scary tornadoes have the most damage, which makes tornadoes so much scary and dangerous. I guess it means so much more scary. Levels account. I used to love learning anything about weather until I transitioned into astronomy and astrophysics stuff for the past 15 years. I still love learning about anything about meteorology. Yeah, I do really enjoy his YouTube channel. It's a very like underrated channel, but you can see he's starting to get growth. I've subscribed to my other channel. I subscribe here as well. He's starting to get some big growth now, which is good to see because when I was reacting to him, I don't know when the first one I done, probably like 6 months ago. It was sort of not the start, but it was a bit smaller. And yeah, I've seen those videos again, a lot of views, and rightly so. But hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, until next time, peace.